that's why the Nazis were studying mind control. What the Nazis had settled on for mind control was that the person first needed to be malnourished. The second thing was they needed to have heavy metals. Aluminum was their one choice at that time, deposited into their bodies. The third thing that they needed was to have negative stimulus, punishment if you don't do what we tell you to do. And then the fourth thing, repeat messaging. When you do those four things, what you create is a person who is now willing to suggestibility and willing to be controlled in their mind. In 1945, Alan Dulles brings 1,600 Nazi scientists into the United States. Paperclip. He clears all their records, makes sure they avoid getting involved in the Nuremberg trials. All of them certainly would have been sentenced to death. He brought them into the United States, put them in our government, and gave them unlimited funding because he loved what they were doing with mind control. These scientists brought all the Nazi science into the United States. And so now you have rollout of the Nazi agenda in the United States and then starting to go globally because everybody is taking what the United States is doing as the way of the future. Those repeated messages that the Nazis were doing, those became commercials.
Hey, fancy meeting you here. Tell you, we gotta stop meeting like this. Otherwise, paternity cases. I will be your host tonight, Michael Talbert, the one and only Bleak Narratives. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to be here to discuss with you the intricacies and finer points of the legal system in the United States. I should tell you that this is not legal advice. I should tell you that if you need help in the arena of all things equitable, to seek the trusted and wise advice of a sage attorney in your state, a licensed bar member, but I'm not going to. I should tell you that this is not legal advice and that this should not be taken serious or these notions that will be presented tonight be entertained by anyone of any race or creed or intellect, sorry. But I'm not going to. As your captain tonight, Captain Ron, I'm going to tell you that this shit is absolutely advice. It is absolutely of a legal nature. You are absolutely free to take what resonates with you and fucking leave the rest here. I just don't. I don't know. I'm not going to bow for these fucks anymore. I'm not going to acquiesce. I'm not going to bend the knee. I'm not going to coalesce. I'm not going to congeal. I'm not going to play along. I'm fucking not. I'm done here with this. And so are you. You should be. I mean, if you've come this far to find this channel, then you obviously are. You're living in your own personal hell right now. And, you know, it's my hope that we'll see you out of it. So we are going to discuss probably a wide variety of nothing tonight, as I appear to have left my fucking O'Connor's Texas cause of actions at home, and the man is worthless without his tools. See what I can pull up on the subject. We're going to do malicious prosecution tonight, and nolo proseque, which is the fucking prosecutor's, I guess, absolute immunity and right to prosecute the things that they want and let go of the things that they do not or feel that they cannot in good faith, or that do not affect what would be categorized and classified as things that fall under the bills of Middlesex, which would be anything involving the peace, prosperity, and law of the king. So, yeah, motherfucker, bright, motherfucker. Anyways, the prosecutor doesn't have to prosecute something. They have the option of fucking doing what they want, pretty much, and that's because if they didn't, then they would have to do their fucking jobs. If they had to do their fucking jobs, then they would be busting the balls of their little buddies, their little fucking demon cohorts, which, make no mistake, this world is run by a bunch of fucking lizards in skin suits that you know, are almost convincing as they force us to sit and watch idly as our children are taken from our homes and placed into unsafe foster homes where they later disappear, or what the fuck ever. Being a man who has unalienable God-given rights and have been endowed with these things, as previously mentioned, by my Creator, I can't even waive my rights. You can't take my rights. You certainly can't. You'll never hear me talk about my constitutional rights, because those aren't my rights. Those are their fucking rules. They have rules. They have obligations. They have duties. We have rights, and we have freedoms. And so they're not allowed to turn these fucking rights and freedoms into privileges. They're not. But therein lies the problem. A lot of people feel weak. They feel, well, of course they would. Listen to the language of this place. We wake, party for the dead in the morning, and sadness, and then we work all week until we're weekend, and then we go to the parish so we won't perish. They play these fucking games with us, and they're some of them are words of art, and they're fancifully put into place to absolutely fuck the absolute dog shit out of us. And some of them are generational landmines that have been set in place long before these things came about, with the intent of an intention of destroying us, one little bit at a time, for their amusement. If you've made it this far, I should toss in the caveat that, for all intents, it is probably wise for one to consider the possibility that we can only do what we're programmed to do, what we're pre-programmed to do. And so can they. And so this means that they have a pattern they have to follow, that they have rules, they have a structured system by which they operate, a standard operating procedure. If they do not do this, they've lost their indemnity. They're no longer indemnified, and they're vulnerable to collateral attack as a man or a woman, as well as in their public capacity as an official. These things are all things that can be fucking found easily and exploited, if you will, just like a weakness or a bug in somebody's program or website or servers. Things that are unsecured are easy to attack, and these people are unsecured. They're lied to and told that they are immune from prosecution. They are not. Their agencies that they work for are not. They are lied to, and they're told that they are public officials, are government. They are not. Their employers are not. This is evidenced by the EIN, the TIN. These people have tax identification information. Why would you have tax identification information if you don't report to the IRS because you're exempt from taxes, which government is, correct? And so if you ask these people for a W-9 and they don't give it to you at the courthouse or the paramedic or the fucking city building or the rec center, then this triggers an IRS investigation immediately. That their business license is yanked and suspended. The Secretary of Commerce comes in, fucking shuts their shit down, fucking looks at their books. And so there is always a way to stop these people. Back to the patterns. They all have rules that they have to follow, and much like a Dungeon Master's Guide, if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, or a walkthrough, a Nintendo Power, if you're into gaming and not getting pussy, or any other thing, they would have a manual or rules. If you just take the time to learn these rules, that's it. It's all over but the shouting. I like to refer to this thing as Glass Jaw Joe from Mike Tyson's Punch Out. He's going to throw his shit out there. Hey, what's going on, sir? What's going on? He's going to throw his shit out there for a second, and he's going to, do some blows with you. And then once you got him kind of on the ropes a little in that first round, he's going to back up and he's going to say, "Meow, meow, meow," and then he's going to come forward, and you're going to get out the way, and you're going to fucking hit him in the belly or whatever, get your little star and knock him down. And this is because you've played the level and you know how to beat the guy, but you didn't, not the first time, and you stuck with it until you did anyways. And so this is no different than that. This is actually the exact same thing. What we're left dealing with here is clearly the result of a devil on a playpen. Shit, one of my friends is going to jail. Nah, no, she's not. If she's going to jail at the hands of a fucking municipal employee or a police officer, policy enforcer, then she's rich. Hooray. Yeah, that there are things these guys can do. There are things these guys cannot do. All you have to do is find these things. If you don't have time to find these things, if you can't find these things, if you feel frustrated with these things, then reach out and contact me, man. My name is Mike. My phone number is 316-207-2041. Yeah, let's work. Iron sharpens iron. I might get off here. A girl that's basically like a daughter to me is going to jail right now. She was having a bit of a domestic issue earlier this evening in the neighboring town. Wait and see what happens here. I'm going to go ahead and run something and try to find out what's going on with my young lady friend here.
G'day folks. I wanted to send a message to people who were protesting, for want of a better term, in Canada, Australia, New Zealand and elsewhere around the world. I've seen a lot of video footage of what they're doing, and I think they are making one very grave potential error, and that is in the nature of the flags they're flying. So everyone has said that these protests need to be peaceful, and all they want to do is speak with the other side. Okay, well, if that's the case, you don't want to fly the Canadian maple leaf, you don't want to fly the Australian blue ensign or the red ensign or the Eureka flag, and you don't want to fly the New Zealand national flag. If you're a peaceful protest, and if you want parley, and if you want to put those who are opposing you in a position of committing a war crime, if they should take violent action against you, then there is only one flag to be flying. And that's the white flag. The white flag is the flag of peace, it is the flag of truce, and it is the flag of parley. And to attack someone who's flying, who marches under a white flag, is a war crime. So if anyone out there sees this and has the ability to get in touch with people who are organising these protests, what they need to do is tell all those people who are there to get rid of all their national flags, all their alternative flags, and to tie one thing only to the flag poles they're carrying, and that is a white flag if you've got it, but anything white will do. Just fly the white flag. It has the potential to protect you from violence because it creates a legal paradigm for those who would like to perhaps take more violent action against protesters. So if you want to parley, you need a white flag. If you want to tell the whole world that you're there for peaceful purposes, you need the white flag. This is very important. I can't stress how important this is. And it has the potential to protect you from violence because it will place those who would like to start something violent in a dilemma, in a bind. It is a war crime to attack someone who comes under a white flag. Anyway, hopefully someone out there will see this and pass it on to people who know the people who know the people who know the people who can make an announcement at some of these protests and let the people know that there's only one flag they should be flying, and that's the white flag. It's not the flag of surrender, it's the flag of peace and the flag of truce, the flag of non-violence, the flag of parley. As far as I can tell, all the protests in every country say they want to be peaceful and all they want to do is speak with the other side. Great. The perfect flag for doing that you should be marching under is the white flag. So, if you can, please pass this on. Okay, see you, folks. Just as an addendum, folks, when you're under a white flag, you do not want to be violent in any way, shape or form, because then you commit a war crime. And you do not want to allow anyone who is violent to stand under your white flag. So what you need to do if someone's getting violent is to make it clear to everyone around you that they are not with you, should that happen. Because the one concern I have is that governments seed the crowd with rebel rousers to try and incite something. You do not want to associate with those people, and you want to make it clear if they start to look like they're starting something, or if they do start something, you want to make clear that you do not stand with them and they do not stand with you. So be clear, under a white flag, you need to be peaceful. You can't just use it to force the other side to treat you peacefully. You must also be peaceful.
Yeah, I can barely hear you guys. I don't know. Look, like I said, they can't arrest her, not unless they've got somebody who's going to sign a statement, a written statement that has a wedding signature on it, that has a declaration on it that says that, this person is. Yeah, I had to walk up there. No, Tanner's not going to say shit. You need to text me his phone number real quick and let me call him on this other line and tell him to fucking mind his ass. Yeah. Give me Tanner's number too, if you would, please. All right, cheers. That's just it, man. You've been trained to think this thing is big, that it's bigger than you, and that it's massive. Massive. It's a big monster. It's a big government. You can't stop it. It's not. That's a man. That's a woman. They're in costume, for fuck's sake. They're acting in commerce. That's why they wear uniforms, because they're acting. But that man or that woman has a ministerial duty and a statutory duty. And if they don't follow these procedures to the T, then they're not indemnified, and they are vulnerable to suit if they have committed an actionable offense against your person or yourself. Then let the pieces fucking fall where they may. It's just time. Like, one can do 18 hours waiting for his OR bond standing on his fucking head one once, and then one can get out and look into the fact that in the 1980s that somebody got $12.8 million for sitting in a jail for 27 minutes for the wrong reasons. A treatise of false arrest and imprisonment, a treatise on false arrest and imprisonment is in my Telegram group. Download for it of it for free, along with just about anything else you would ever need or come across. That's the Bleak Narratives official, I believe, on Telegram. It's the only Bleak Narratives on there, because they didn't put the troop of gay rave DJs on there. They must have forgotten to. Fucking, I don't know. You live in a fed world, and there's a lot of Agent Smiths out there. It's primarily everyone you know, and that is why when it starts raining, it just fucking turns to honking ass, and it's a golly washer on you. And it always will be, because this thing only knows one thing, and that is to fight you until you do not get back up. It will turn everyone that you love and that loves you or means anything to you against you over and over again until you stop running from it and you face it. And when you do that, this thing will cower before you, because you're man. You're not citizen. You're not person. Yeah, this shit's disgusting. This shit's disgusting, and it's got to stop. An assault against your rights is an assault against my rights, and that I cannot abide. You know what I mean? It will not abide. And so, that said, this is where we begin to fight them. And that said, this is where we begin to win. I'm going to get back to the situation. I guess, hold fast or don't. I'm not sure. I'm not the boss of you. Cheers.
The major complaint about defense attorneys is that they do not communicate regularly with clients. Let's take a look at defense attorney misconduct. Complaints received by bar associations generally involve clients who believe that they're not getting what they paid for. One of the most cited reasons for false convictions, in addition to eyewitness testimony, is ineffective assistance of counsel. Other behaviors reported of lawyers in capital and other cases include the following: the use of heroin and cocaine during trial, letting the defendant wear the same clothes, admitting that they didn't know the law or the facts, not being able to name a death penalty case, and drinking heavily each day of the trial. Cases identified by the Innocence Project include many examples of criminal defense attorneys not bringing forward evidence. When prosecutors forget that their mission is to protect the due process, not merely win a case, misconduct can occur. The types of misconduct range from minor lapses of ethical rules to commissions of criminal acts. Most prosecutor misconduct involves unethical or illegal means to obtain a conviction. Experts discuss 4 types of prosecutorial misconduct: withholding exculpatory evidence, misusing pretrial publicity, using false evidence in court, and using preemptory challenges to exclude jurors. Rules forbid an attorney from knowingly allowing false evidence to be admitted. Misconduct also occurs when prosecutors intentionally use scientific evidence that they know to be false. Prosecutors might also bolster a witness's credentials or allow him or her to make unsupported claims on the witness stand. Judicial canons require judges to avoid even the appearance of bias or impropriety. There is a prohibition on attorneys and judges discussing a case outside the presence of the other attorney. This is called ex parte communication and is prohibited because it gives one side preference over the other. The expectation that judges maintain an unbiased position towards any issue that might come before him or her. Various forms of judicial misconduct include the following: failing to inform defendants of their rights, coercing guilty pleas, exceeding sentencing authority, and exceeding bail authority. Further, denying full and fair hearings or trials, abusing the criminal contempt power, ignoring probable cause requirements, denying defendants' rights, and penalizing defendants for exercising their rights. We must be careful not to paint with too broad of a brush. Only a few judges are involved in the most egregious examples of unethical behavior. Most judges are ethical and take great care to live up to the obligations of their role. The factors that seem to be correlated with wrongful convictions clearly indicate that legal professionals must take responsibility for reducing the possibility of such gross miscarriages of justice. It should be recognized that while sometimes prosecutors are implicated as pivotal in wrongful convictions, in other cases, prosecutors have been pivotal in helping free someone. When wrongful convictions were compared with cases where a factually innocent defendant was indicted, but the prosecution was dropped or didn't resolve the conviction, researchers found that these factors influenced the likelihood of wrongful conviction. State punitiveness, a weak case, error in forensic testimony, age and prior criminal history of the defendant, honest mistaken identity by an eyewitness, and poor representation by a defense attorney. Other factors include perjury by informants, police and prosecutorial misconduct, false confessions, junk science, ineffective assistance of counsel, and so on. Mistaken eyewitness testimony is the most frequently identified factor in wrongful convictions. False confessions are another important factor in wrongful convictions. A study of 250 exonerees found that 70% were minorities. Confirmatory bias is when someone ignores evidence that is contrary to what they believe. Confirmatory bias may lead to wrongful convictions because prosecutors ignore evidence that tends to refute their theory of the case. Individuals may be affected by confirmatory bias in that they can truly not see the exculpatory nature of evidence because they believe so strongly that a defendant is guilty. The reality is that the law is administered by humans, and human beings have failings and errors and misconduct that can result in innocent people being convicted, incarcerated, and sometimes executed. In response to questions about why prosecutors commit various forms of misconduct, one commentator explained, because they can. We can discuss several psychological processes that contribute to misconduct, including the presence of confirmatory bias, selective information processing, belief preservation, and avoidance of cognitive dissonance. Intentional prosecutorial misconduct can include reconstructing conduct as morally justified, obscuring personal agency, and blaming or dehumanizing defendants. The immunity of judges insulates them from the effects of their decisions, although their decisions are public and can create storms of controversy. State judicial commissions rarely sanction judges, and voters tend to be oblivious of the reputation of judges. A range of potential responses to prosecutorial misconduct have been offered or implemented. Many of these have weaknesses that prevent their effectiveness. To enforce rules of ethics, the American Bar Association, or the ABA, has a standing committee on ethical responsibility to offer formal and informal options or opinions when charges of impropriety have been made. Disciplinary committees investigate a practicing attorney only when a complaint is lodged against him or her. One of the most common complaints against attorneys is that they allow deadlines to pass or miss court dates. It seems that prosecutors may be even less likely to be the target of bar discipline committees than criminal defense attorneys. Misconduct in the courtroom is sometimes morally sanctioned by trial judges, but prosecutors are rarely directly mentioned in appellate holdings, even when case decisions are overturned. Some have argued that the evidence of prosecutorial misconduct supports rethinking prosecutorial immunity and perhaps employing criminal sanctions against prosecutors. There is some argument that prosecutors do not get sufficient training on Brady obligations that then lead some of the Brady violations that appear in wrongful convictions. Prosecutors' associations advocate enhanced training on Brady obligations to reduce violations. While the number of Innocence Project affiliates is growing and groups have been successful in identifying cases and prevailing in court, they can't be the only solution to the problem of false convictions. DNA has been the vehicle by which many innocent prisoners have obtained their release from prison. Because of the pro-prosecution bias that is said to exist in state or local police crime labs, there have been calls for private labs to test evidence. Procedures can also ensure that obtaining confession occurs in a manner designed to minimize the potential for false convictions. There is new attention to and interest in addressing the weaknesses of the justice system to reduce the number of wrongfully convicted people. The way to reduce misconduct includes 5 approaches. First, instituting an open file pre-trial discovery. Second, abandoning the harmless error test. Third, identifying errant prosecutors by name. Fourth, stripping prosecutors of full immunity. And fifth, investigations of misconduct by prosecutors. Ethical misconduct by prosecutors is expensive and threatens the very legitimacy of our legal system. Just because there's an allegation in an appeal that prosecutors engaged in misconduct does not make it so. Individuals on the side of defending the wrongfully convicted may be subject to confirmation bias as well and have their own ethical blinders on. Far from being static, the implementation of law reflects political realities, in direct contrast to the ideal of judicial independence that is the cornerstone of our system of government. If the judiciary is not independent of political powers, this calls into question the very existence of the checks and balances upon which this country's government is constructed. The system of federal prosecutors and the federal law enforcement agencies, which include the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as well as many others, is also supposed to be removed from political influence. If the justice system, including prosecutors and judges, is a pawn or an agent of political power, due process is a sham, and the very essence of democracy is threatened. The importance of due process is that even criminals and enemies of the state are given due process rights that protect them from errors and deprivation of life, liberty, and property. The U.S. Supreme Court, as the ultimate authority of the law in this country, decides constitutionality, and these interpretations are far from neutral, despite the myth of objective decision-making. Our law derives from the Constitution. 2 basic philosophies regarding how to apply constitutional principles are at work in the legal arena. The first group might be so-called strict constitutionalists, because they argue that the Constitution should be implemented as written, and any changes are to take place in terms of rights, responsibilities, or liberties. The changes should take place through the political system, or Congress. Activists have a looser reading of the Constitution and read into the rights that framers might have recognized or should have recognized because of evolving standards. They argue that the Constitution is meant to be a living document and that the language of the framers was intentionally written as an accommodating interpretation based on changing times and circumstances.
If you really want to be transformed, you have to live an intentional life. This is so simple, I don't want you to miss it. Most people don't lead their life, they accept their life. And when you accept your life, you are living on things that are not worthy of your time and effort and energy. To go uphill, you have to be intentional. Nobody ever went uphill by accident. You've never read a book on accidental achievements. You have to be intentional with what you do and who you are.
True story. Fucking true story. I'm going to play a couple of these people just from around the planet here smoking these fucking judges, like in their seat, or the prosecutor, and then I'm going to get on out of here, man. I'm a little bit worried about Riley. I want to make sure everything's all right. So go your good way, brothers and sisters. I'm going to drop out when I drop out. Cheers. It's been a pleasure. Fucking tonight I had the distinct pleasure of being Bleak Narratives. Tomorrow I'm History.
Right, now, to the matter of Ashley Charles Watson. Ashley Charles Watson. Ashley Charles Watson.
Is it the Mr. Ashley Charles Watson's, in all caps, Fictions Trust you are ministering here today?
That's the one dated
That's the one.
January.
Did you hear that? He said that's... No, I was born alive. I don't have a date of birth.
The corporeal presence here today would suggest to me you are indeed Ashley Charles Watson.
What gives you that?
I'm satisfied you're there. Come to the bar table, please. If you don't want to, you'll have to conduct it.
I'm making a special appearance on behalf of the defendant, which is a corporate legal fiction. I am the corporate legal fiction's personal representative, sole authorised agent and beneficiary of the constructive trust. Case number MAG 0014426/23 in brackets 9. And now I need to know who you are. Clerk of the court, are you the Cester KV trustee that appointed this person behind you? Trustee over the constructive case, case number MAG 0014426/23 in brackets 9.
Okay, now, are you
I'm not a sir. Please stop calling me sir.
Oh, sir,
I'm not a sir. I work for a living.
I will address you as
I do not accept that.
I appreciate you've got it on the record.
So you are recording here today? Are you recording here today, please?
I will not be answering your questions. I'm here.
If you don't answer your question, this is a two-way street.
I'm afraid it's not.
Well, if it's not a two-way street, this is not a lawful court and you have no authority.